everybody. I'm Katie Arroyo.
And I'm Laura Manasowicz.
And this is Pinky Promise. A podcast about growing up. With a sneeze.
With a sneeze. Welcome.
Welcome. I'm really excited about our guest today. We have comedian and writer Pam Anderson. Hi, Pam.
Hi. I will say that Pam not Anderson is my that's my social name. My name is Pamela Ross, just for clarity.
I was wondering.
I've been introduced on stage multiple times as Pam Anderson, and I'm like, great, whatever.
What a nightmare.
That's fine.
I have you as like Pam Anderson in everything. Like, well, we have Pamela Ross, who I'm very excited about. I've been on enough shows with her that I should know that her last name is not Anderson.
Well, you know, Pam Anderson is still the most famous Pam.
Yeah, barely.
Been that way since the 90s. It's like her, Pam cooking spray, and then maybe me.
Yeah.
Top three is great.
There's not a lot of Pams out there.
There are no. Well, there's Pam Grier. I should know Pam Grier. Lest we forget. But yeah, it's a lot of Pams are like middle-aged cashiers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Pam Beasley, a fictional Pam.
Pam Beasley is actually, the fictional character is a more famous Pam than most actual Pams.
Yeah.
So
they're crushing it. Pams are crushing it in the world of fiction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we have Pam Ross / Not Anderson here to talk about house parties. We've all been to them. Most of us have puked at one of them. Laura,
Minimum.
did you go to a lot of house parties? Because Laura's history, Pam, is, I'll tell you because I should tell Laura's story the best. But on this podcast, I feel like you had like two lives where you had like party with your work friends and then your school friends were like getting into college and doing good things.
Yeah, that's right. Most of my house partying was like I threw parties in my early 20s, like 22, 23 was when I really evolved as a house party host. Because I still lived at home and my parents started traveling more. But like younger, minimally. Like I remember a big honkin' rager the summer after I graduated, and like big honkin' rager, probably not that big, but it was like my first like holy shit, I'm at a party. So
we I feel like for us house parties were like what we did. So we went to loads and loads of house parties, and then I never threw a house party of my own except for 2 times. One was at my friend Megan's house, and neither one of us had driver's licenses at the time, but her parents thought that she was going to stay at my house for the weekend when they went out of town, and then we told my parents that we were going to stay at her house, and we were close enough that they were like, we don't care, whatever. So we have this big party, and the house is like trashed, and we have to try to figure out how to clean the house, but none of us we didn't have like a driver's license. So like we had all these beer cans that we needed to like take and get out of the house, but we're like trying to call people to be like, could you drive over and pick us up? And like, can you carry 5 trash bags of cans in your car?
Sure. Yeah.
And I remember it was like to the wire, because we also had to figure out like how to be away from her house before her parents came home, because we were supposed to be at my house. Like it was such a nightmare. Mm-hmm. And then when my parents moved away, I was still in their home until they sold it. They like moved from New York to Texas, and so we had like this really nice house that they were not in, and I was in my 20s, and we had this party that started as us being like, yeah, let's just have a luau, and we wore like Hawaiian outfits, and we made every single person that came to the party dress in some kind of something. Sure. And it turned wild. Like people snowboarded down our front steps. Somebody like smashed a hole in a wall. Someone dropped a beer on the glass top stove and broke it. People were standing on my kitchen island and like pouring shots into people's mouths. And I should see if I can find a picture of this party. But that snowboard ended up in like one of those snowboard videos. You know how those used to exist where there were just clips of people snowboarding? And my house, my staircase is in one of those videos because we hung out with these snowboard dudes. Yeah.
I had no idea we had a famous person.
Yeah, famous
us.
staircase. Yeah.
Yeah.
Famous adjacent. Pam, how about you?
Oh my God. Well, okay. So I grew up in Fairfield County, which is apparently has the highest rate of underage drinking and drug use in the country.
Wow. Congrats.
Thank you. It's one of our many distinctions. And so I didn't go to school in Fairfield. I commuted to a school in a different county. So kids from like all over the place would descend upon one given house, and we would go completely nuts because we weren't legally allowed to drink.
Sure.
We didn't really know how to drink. And it was a very competitive school that we went to. Everyone was under a lot of pressure to achieve, and we were very busy during the week. It was like school, sports, extracurriculars, like trying to get into a good college. So we just went completely crazy when we had the chance to. I would have parties at I say my house. It's obviously my parents' house.
Yeah, sure.
You're like, we were achieving. I was already making money on the stock market. I owned a few properties.
I owned a home in the suburbs. It's where I am right now. But my parents, I have like old parents, so they were very old school and strict about certain things. And then other things they didn't really care about. And they didn't care about us drinking. They would buy us, as long as no one drove, right? They're like, you do not touch your car keys. No one can drive home. You're all just going to sleep here. And they would buy us, the statute of limitations on this has expired. Right. So I'll just tell you that they would buy us a beer and wine. And then we would just raid the liquor cabinet. Because my parents were not big drinkers at all. They both smoked my whole life. My dad still smokes. He actually does it inside. He turns on the fan.
That's old school.
Yeah, that is old school.
He literally lights up a cigarette while I'm cooking on the stovetop. What are you doing? But he's in the 40s. Like,
yeah.
He told me that drunk driving used to just be considered a social skill because
I think it was a social skill in my high school too.
And some places it still is, because there was certain public health issues were not so stigmatized. There was less of an awareness about them, like smoking and stuff like that. And they both grew up at a time when you could drink at 18, and it was just not really that big of a deal. So we would drink so much. And it is really a cruel twist of our biology that you can drink a lot when you're young because of your metabolism, and you're just so hardy. You're so like almost invincible, but you don't have experience drinking.
Yes.
So you're like,
your brain is like, I can't behave, but your body's like, I got this. Like,
and anything that requires a taste developed for it, you don't have yet. So you're either like choking your way through something that could be of quality, or you're guzzling the sugar shit that is awful but tastes like candy. And you're like, okay, this I think I understand, and you don't.
Oh, absolutely. And we didn't understand that you probably shouldn't mix like beer or liquor. We didn't know we knew what chasers were, like in theory.
Yeah.
Because we'd seen like teen movies.
Yes.
Right. You hear the lingo and you're like, I can put this together.
Right. You're like, okay, so like if you have like hard liquor, you have something afterwards because it tastes terrible and it's not a mixed drink. But we just wouldn't have chasers. We were literally just doing shots of Dubra and Smirnoff and Grey Goose and and that was normal. Like that was a completely normal way to drink in someone's house, sometimes specifically in someone's basement, whether or not their parents were home. And I got sick so many times. And one time, the morning after a party that I hosted, my mom saw me vomiting in the toilet, and she just went, "Good. Now you won't do that again." So that was how I learned to moderate my drinking. And by the time I was 18 and in college, I didn't really overindulge.
That's exactly that's exactly the experience that I had. I was like, we started going to college parties in junior and senior year, and then so by the time I actually got to college, I was like, none of you are good enough to be on my flip cup team. And I'm like over this. Like, I'm like, what's your 5-year plan? Like, I did that 2 years ago.
Right.
It is so interesting. Like I distinctly remember very on brand. I didn't like beer for a long time, and so flavored vodka was my jam. And there are many flavors of vodka. I never want to even like read the bottle again. It's just a no for me. But like when you're figuring it out, you're like, why does this raspberry taste so awful? And you're like, well, because it is more vodka than it is raspberry. But like, it's not explained. Like, here's a pretty bottle. It's obviously marketed to you whether or not you're old enough to drink it. And then you're like, I guess I love it, even though it hurts me. That was, I feel like that was my experience.
Flavored vodka was my thing throughout college. We would, before we were old enough to buy it ourselves, we would just have older friends, sometimes in RA or just someone older you befriended. And I went to school in Maine, so you'd go to like Hannaford's.
Yeah.
I loved flavored, was it Smirnoff? Flavored Smirnoff, specifically berry acai.
Yes.
And I would just either do shots of that or I would mix it with cranberry. And that was my shit for like 4 years.
Yeah.
I didn't develop a real, as you would say, a taste for alcohol until after college, when I was like, oh, you can mix a drink.
Yeah, you can make things. Like,
you can improve this experience. And also like you get to a point where your end goal isn't total destruction. And you're like, oh, no one told me this was an option. Like drinking presents itself to youth as a challenge to beat.
Yes.
No, not like a...
I think when you start, you're right. It's like total destruction in 20 minutes, because it was always like wherever you got there. I don't know why we all acted like our curfew was an hour away, because I would be like, give me all the drinks right now. Like I've been here for 7 minutes. Why haven't I had 5 shots already? And now it's like pacing it out so you can make it through the night.
Oh yeah. And I didn't really... In college, I didn't overindulge too much. There were a few times when I got really crossfaded because I didn't have a lot of experience smoking weed. But also, the weed in Maine, it's like pine needles. Like, you might be smoking literal grass.
Like,
it's
no
not
one knows.
Yeah.
And I just didn't have a lot of experience with it. I would get so crossfaded. There was one night when I was, pre-gaming a party with my friends in a dorm room. Then we went to the party. I'm unbelievably fucked up there. Then we went and got food at, it was called Milt's. It was like our late night, where you can go for late night.
Where you can
food.
put cheese on whatever's on the menu.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I probably got like a cheeseburger or something. And then I went home in my dorm. I threw up in the wastebasket in my room. I took the trash out.
Yes.
Because I still had a roommate.
She's a responsible lady.
Exactly. I wanted to be like a good roommate. And then I fell asleep with all the lights on in my clothes at 11:30 p.m.
Yeah.
And I know that was the time because my roommate told me, you fell asleep last night in your clothes at 11:30 when I got home.
And you're like, oh, you were there?
And I slept amazingly, like a fucking rock. So even then, I wasn't messy in college. I was messy in high school because we would just get... One time after prom, I don't know how I didn't give myself alcohol poisoning, because after my junior prom, I was with my my date, who was my gay best friend at the time, and my friend Kate, and they slept over at my house, and we watched that movie about a boy with Hugh Grant,
yeah,
and Nicholas Hoult when he was still a kid, right? And I decided, I was like, I invented a drinking game where you would drink a shot of vodka every time they used a Britishism.
Which is the whole movie.
Pam, that's a bad idea.
It was, I had, by my count, and again, I can't be sure this was accurate, 11 shots of vodka.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That I threw up in my kitchen sink, and I woke up the next day completely fine.
So were you a puker all the time?
I mean, often yes. And first, my parents like raised me to just puke in anything with a drain. So like I wasn't always like puking in the toilet. Like one time I showered with a friend in my clothes in her, shower bathtub. And then I just vomited into the bathtub. And then in the morning, this was the time that I think I actually did kind of give myself alcohol poisoning to the extent that you can really like evaluate that without like dying. So I was so hungover in the morning, couldn't hold down water, was throwing up bile basically, that I took a red Solo cup, I would scoop my vomit out of the tub, I'd put it in the toilet, and then I'd throw back up into the tub.
Oh!
So it became like a sort of a Sisyphean task. Trying to clean up my own vomit. And it was at my friend Lee's
house. But your
house.
brain was never like, hey, you could skip a whole step.
No, never. Like, I didn't connect those dots for because I was dumb. My brain wasn't finished forming. I have no excuse. I don't know. I'm just
Did you have party tricks? Like, was there like, oh, Pam's here, this is gonna happen, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I could do a split. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to be able to like bend at the waist and get my elbows on the ground, and I was pretty proud of that.
Oh,
I
wow.
knew a gal who could do it. Was like a wide stance. It wasn't like legs together, but I could get there.
That's pretty good.
And I knew a gal who could do a wall split. She got a lot of attention.
Okay, my friend, like one of my best friends in high school, we were she was a cheerleader and she was the flyer, so she was ripped and she was tiny, and if there was a thick enough pole of any sort, like kind of a column that you could get around, she could hold herself up to the column and then go perpendicular to it. And just like hold her body out. And I was like, that's like a fucking, I could only get it like up in the air. We were both similar like body types. And I'm like, maybe she's like, I think you can get it. And I'm like, maybe. And the best I could do is like an angle. And she did it like perpendicular. And we all were like, what? But I would die if I could do a split. I would love it. Never could do a split.
No.
It's so much fun.
Can you still do it?
Oh no, I lost my splits, which I only realized because I kept doing them. Like a few years into comedy, I would have like truly one or two drinks and then get on the dance floor and try and do a split. And I started physically hurting myself from doing them. And I just had to accept that I like wasn't, because I grew up dancing, and so they make you stretch, and I would also do this thing where I would just like put my butt up against the wall and then let my legs fall into a split, and you would just hold them there. And try to pull them, anything that would, because ballet is all about like turnout, and so I would also do this thing where I'd like watch TV like on my stomach.
Were you like in a split?
Yeah, like against,
oh my God.
Like, the wall, and it was just anything to like basically open up, because you're supposed to turn out from your hips, not your knees. So you got to like really open up those hip sockets. And yeah, it was really fun. But then I started doing comedy and got in really bad shape. I mean, there's no way.
That's just what it does.
It's just. I remember I was out. I don't know if you ever went to Wonder Bar in Boston, which Thunder Bar Comedy used to operate out of. It was a fun spot. I think it closed, but I remember I was standing outside there before an open mic, and my friend Chris was like, Pamela, what are you doing? You used to come to mics with salad and like fruit in your purse, and right now you are eating a Five Guys cheeseburger with one hand and smoking a cigarette with the other. Chris, I've been doing comedy for years.
You're like, sorry, what do you want?
I don't know what to tell you. My lifestyle has changed.
Yeah.
I remember. Whoa, I threw my microphone on the ground.
All right. Wow, we have a dropped mic. Things are
Too
wild
exciting.
over there.
Okay, sorry
about
partying. That. I like years ago got an email from Google, and it was like when I was like in the peak of doing the most, like driving everywhere and doing all the things, and it was like you've walked barely at all this month, but you have sat down in your car for 60 hours. And it's like, hell yeah. Crushing it.
Yes. And then we wonder why comedians like die young.
Yeah.
Alone in hotel rooms.
Like you've eaten drive-through in your car every day this month. So good job getting booked.
Way to go. Yeah.
Have literally gotten ill from some of the bar food I've eaten.
Yeah.
Because you think you're gonna I don't know, you'll try to eat some, let's say you have a night that's 2 shows. So you try to, before you like head out for the first one, it's like 5:00 and you're like, I'm going to try to have a little light dinner, like a reasonable dinner that if I was home, I would be fine because I would go to bed at 11 or whatever. And then I might be hungry at 11, but I'm like, I'm tired. I'll eat in the morning. But you're doing shows, so you eat at 5. And then if you have a beer or a glass of wine or a drink, even if you just do 1 at each show, you're coming home and it's like 1 in the morning and your body's like, I'm so hungry. And what is available at that hour? Like they don't have a salad drive-through for you.
No. And even if the bars have salad, it's like, I'm not interested in like an old tomato and iceberg with some wishbone lettuce. Like at that point, give me something from the deep fryer. It'll be a better experience.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Did you have like food that you would drunkenly eat or make when you were partying?
Yes. We had these frozen pizzas. They were called, honestly, I looked for these a couple of weeks ago in the grocery store because I was like, do they still make these pizzas? They were called Mama Rosa's frozen pizzas, and they came in a pack of like 2. And my friend and I would cook one and literally just cut it in half and you just eat the whole pizza, and it was the best. I don't know if it's actually good or we just only ate it when we were drunk, but like my dad was like, I bought those pizzas because you guys love them, and we're like, yeah, we cook them trashed every night that we come home. Like, one night we tried to cook them and we threw it in the oven with the plastic on because we forgot to unwrap them.
It's a good night.
Oh no!
Yeah.
That's a second. I was like, "Did you start a fire?"
Yeah, it like started melting, and then we were like, "Oh my god!" Luckily, my parents were like dozing in the living room, so they didn't notice. And then we were just like dying laughing and like threw the pizza away. And my dad's like, "You didn't want to eat your pizza?" We're like, "Not today. I gotta go upstairs. I can't talk to humans right now."
Right.
There was a Wendy's on the, like when you get off the highway to get back to my parents' house. And I can't tell you, it was like my personal cathedral was like stopping at that Wendy's for years. And then in school, I was like a McDonald's person, a Quarter Pounder, never steered me wrong. And then I do have like a very specific memory of being drunk at a party, and my best friend and I, budding home chefs, were making hot dogs on a George Foreman, and we were like, we should put garlic powder on these. Garlic hot dogs, disgusting, but I'm sure in the moment, great. And like we would make ramen packets with butter, and that was.
We made the Velveeta packets because that cheese didn't require like milk. You just like squeeze it out of the tube, and it was so good. And I had never had it before. And drunk Velveeta was like the shit.
Yeah. What about you, Pamela?
Honestly, the best. It's better than, I think the Velveeta is better than Kraft or Annie's.
Yes.
I'll say it.
Yeah, I agree. I buy Annie's now because I'm an adult and I don't deserve pleasures. But in my 20s, I was all about the Velveeta.
Yeah. what was I, when I was starting comedy and I was still obsessed with being thin, basically. I like how you can scroll back my Instagram and see it's like reverse me trying to be hot.
Oh, I think if you do stand up, you just get uglier. There's a couple people that get hotter, but like the majority of people, you see the decline where you're like, oh, that's where you started realizing sweatshirts are comfy.
And straight male comics age a decade in like 2 or 3 years.
Yes. Yeah.
It's shot. I just want to like put moisturizer on their face.
Yes.
What are you
a little doing? Cleanse and some toner and then so much moisturizer.
Great beard, but you guys, this part of your face is still there. Just soften it up.
Yeah, you're like, you can still see it. You're not like peering over the fence. Like, anyway, so what was he talking about?
Junk
food. Yeah.
And I was still trying to be really, really thin. And I was like, I love this gross health food. It tastes good to me because I hate myself. I would take, I'd come home and I would eat like Ezekiel sprouted bread. I don't know if you've ever had it. And I would just toast that and put hummus on it. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it's good.
I was like, that actually doesn't sound that bad.
Yeah, and then I'd like sprinkle, you could put like a little bit of olive oil and like some hemp seeds or something. Honestly, not bad. But also I'm so many frozen foods, just like whatever was in my freezer. I love Amy's.
Yes, yeah.
That whole brand, that frozen food and the soups. To this day, it's fire. It's so good. I'd have that. I had to stop eating Stouffer's because it would make me so sick. Mm-hmm. That was and just eating just pints of ice cream.
Oh yeah, I would definitely go. I think the ice cream for me was I was probably dehydrated and I needed liquid, but my body will think that means I want ice cream. Is what I've learned. Right. Because sometimes I'll have a glass of water and I'm like, oh, I don't actually want the ice cream like I thought I did.
Yes. So like that was a big thing when I was like dieting or whatever, where I was like, well, sometimes when you think you're hungry, you're actually just thirsty. But because I was depriving myself of both simple carbs and meat, I was hungry and thirsty.
You're like, I'm actually hungry.
I needed just sustenance.
There is so much verbiage about how you're not really hungry that it is like, what a surprise when it turns out you actually are. Like it's still a thing that people can get sometimes is hungry.
I was never I never deprived myself of food, so I was very in tune with like, I'm hungry, so I'm gonna eat, and that was like never something that I was worried about because I always worked out so much that I could be like, I eat anything and I would stay really fit. So diet was like just not a concern. So I would be like, yeah, I'm not hungry for 6 hours or whatever, and then I'm really hungry or whatever. And so my boyfriend the other like weeks ago or probably months ago now, I know when I have like a sugar addiction. So I know when I'm just genuinely craving sugar and I'm not actually hungry. And so I said to him, he was like, God, I'm really hungry. And I said, are you really hungry or do you just want that food? And to this day, he'll be like, well, are you sure you need air? He's like, are you sure you want to breathe? And I'm like, that's not how I meant it. I'm like, I'm contributing to diet culture, but I promise that's not how I meant it.
But like, that is the thing. And this is off topic, but that's the thing about diet culture where they're like, are you sure that you want bread or do you want a rice cake with almond butter on it? I'm like, I want bread.
Yeah. There was a moment in time where I asked someone about their experience with intermittent fasting and they were like, I'll tell you my honest experience, but I feel like you should know. I'm pretty sure I'm using this to like glorify disordered eating. And like for myself,
but at least
like,
they know that.
Like that's a good heads up because I'm gonna try it for a week figure out I'm doing the same thing, or be out at a show and want to eat something and then berate myself for like cheating or breaking it or whatever, and be like, oh, you know what, this is actually really bad for you. If not for the nutritional aspect, certainly for the mental health of berating yourself for wanting to eat food. Not great. So that was not something I found that worked for me.
Right. I mean,
go ahead.
Oh, this is not that it's you know, super important that I express this, but like the drunchies are real, right? Like,
yes.
Okay, just checking.
Very important that you express that. Yes,
yes,
very real.
That's a good way because I could talk about diet culture for the rest of this episode, but also bring it back to the drunchies because I literally just had a show at Mohegan and I had drinks after and I was like, oh, this is so nice to just like have a cool buzz. And I got home and I it was Easter Sunday and I was like, you know what I need? I need pasta. I need ham. I need ice cream. I need Reese's peanut butter cups. And I was like, I'm genuinely, I don't know if I'm hungry, but I'm eating this fucking food right now and I want it.
Beer makes me so hungry.
Me too.
I have one beer, which is weird because it physically fills my stomach up.
Mm-hmm.
But then for some reason, it just like fosters a hunger in a way that like wine, or if I have a gin and tonic, I'm not a big drinker anymore, but I'm usually like G&T. I'll have like Tanqueray, sometimes with a splash of cran. But something about beer, I can't have it.
If I have wine on an empty stomach, that wine will fill me up. And I don't know if it's just because it's like more bubbly or something than a beer. But if I have a beer on an empty stomach, then I'm like, I need something fried right now. I don't know what it is. It just fills me, or not fills me, I guess. It like fills my stomach, like you said, with actual volume. But then I like need to have food with it or I'll die.
Right. And I just don't. It's tough when you're, you know, because I've done so many bar shows all over, but especially in the city, like you're paid in a drink ticket, you know?
Yeah.
So what are you supposed to do? Like not accept payment?
Yeah, exactly. And then you're like, can I save this for another day?
Can I cash this in for French fries?
Yeah.
You're just drunkenly trying to like feed it into an ATM.
Yeah. Can I just have $5 for this?
I'm like, you won't take my card.
You take it to another food menu to try to pay for food.
They're like, ma'am, you're walking through the drive-thru and this is unsafe and we need you to leave.
We can't accept this token. And you're like, can you just give me fries before I go?
Yeah. You're like outside of Chuck E. Cheese. You're like, ma'am, I need a child to be here. But yeah, I'm trying to think of other crazy house party stuff. I mean, we would, you know, people would end up sucking and fucking.
Did you guys, so I just thought of something. My friend's mom was like your parents, where she definitely, she would rather know where her kid was, so she was happy to have, and she just genuinely like loved her kids and loved hanging out with them and us, so she would like let us be at the house and drinking wild amounts of alcohol all the time, as long as we never drove away or whatever. But there was one friend of ours who she would get like insane. Like I remember she would like pee behind couches and like pee. Yeah. And just so it got so bad that like one night, I think it was my 21st birthday, because we still laugh about it. They rented a limo and we went on like a wine tour thing, and everybody got so drunk that the limo driver, I guess, was laughing because he was like, they get worse every person that comes out of the car. So like first person comes out like fine, and then I'm like towards the back and I'm like, whoa, and then my friend, the one that pees her pants, has to like literally get carried out by like they had to like call my friend's brother to be like, can you go get her out of the car? And so the guy, I remember being like, yeah, it's my birthday. Isn't that crazy that that's what she looks like? But my friend's mom made a rule. I think this is genius because she was so nice. But she made a rule that either this one person could come over or everybody else could come over, but not both at the same time because she would pee. Or like one time she came out into the living room. We were all in the basement, like keeping the party contained. And I guess she went up into the living room and then just started taking off her pants. And my friend's dad was in the living room, and like clearly she's blacked out. But we weren't aware of, like, as teenagers, you're not even like, oh, I think that person's blacked out. Like, watch out for them, or like, watch out for this or whatever. So we'd think she's going upstairs to pee. And then her dad would be like, Jesus Christ, get up here right now. Like, he's like, I don't want to have anything to do with this thing. I don't even want to touch it to like get her down. Like, he's like, and, yeah. So
shit.
Yeah.
I threw a slip and slide party one summer, and it was the coldest day of the summer, but I had hyped it up for so long that I wasn't backing down from it. And we got like a big old tarp, and I cleared. My parents have a big black walnut tree in their backyard, which will like hurt your body if you slip and slide over a walnut. So I like cleared all of it out from the yard. I was like really put my heart into this party, and it was, I mean, from a house party perspective, a great success. Somebody broke one of the glass doors to the stereo cabinet. There were all kinds of bottles and cans in the front yard. I thought I was so smart. My parents don't like people parking on their yard, so I roped their whole yard off so no one could park on it. And then it just got littered with trash that I was then too hungover to pick up.
Were they home for this party?
No,
okay.
No. And I always told them, like, I'd be like, well, if you're leaving, I will throw a party at your home.
I would be like, I can't leave.
Yeah. So I was very upfront, but this one definitely got out of hand, and I was so sick the next day, which also a mistake on my part was they were coming home the next day. I didn't give myself a buffer day, so I was too hungover to like really clean up. And my sister she tried to help me, but I don't know how much better she was. And they came home. They had like a horrendous drive home from the Cape. It was like 5 hours or something, and they came home and their house was trashed. Stuff was broken in places that people shouldn't have been. I had like a friend in town, and he had his belligerent friend over. So there was like two very toxic men yelling on the deck when they got home. My mom was like, what the fuck is this? I was like, you're right. This is what I can do right now, though. I'm so sorry. I think that was my last party. Like, it was very bad, but such a fun party.
Worth it.
That's such a good theme, slip and slide.
That is a good one.
Your theme was always just get very drunk.
I think I wanted to disguise that. Like, I wanted that to be implied, but under the guise of we're going to slip and slide. And it was like two boys in their underpants doing the slip and slide, and everybody else was just wasted on the deck.
We had like very pro-feminist theme parties such as Pimps and Hoes, where all of us girls dressed as one or the other for no reason. Like no one's birthday, no
golf pros and tennis hoes. That was another one.
That would have been a good one. Yeah. We did just wear a costume for no reason ones. We were anything we could do to add some pizzazz to getting completely smashed is what we would do.
We were pretty into drinking games.
Yeah.
I don't know if you call it Pong or Beirut, but we played a lot of it.
Yes.
We played that. And have you ever played the combination of Flip Cup and Pong? Flong?
No.
It's very fast paced. So we would set things up like diagonally across from each other on a table, and you would try to get, it was like once you got a ball in the other team's cup, they would then have to drink it and then flip the cup before they could take their next shot.
Jesus.
And of course now, especially with everyone being so conscious of hygiene, we would play this not just in like disgusting basements, but outside.
Oh, so yeah.
The ball would be on the ground. You would dip it in what was already a disgusting water cup. and then just keep playing. I mean, it was horrifying.
Didn't you guys feel very classy that you had a water cup? Like, I remember when we were like, guys, we have an idea. We're going to put 2 cups of water that we can dip the ball in. And we were like, oh, yeah. Game changer.
Like we really leveled up when we figured out you could just put water in all the cups and drink your own stuff. Yes, and then you weren't drinking hair, etc. And we were like, we're really grown now.
We're mature now.
Right.
Flong. I've never played Flong.
Me either.
Honestly, it's fun.
Gonna round some people up.
Yeah.
Demand they indulge me.
I do. Yeah, I do miss drinking games. I can't lie.
We used to
play. We had an asshole. Like my gal pals would like sit down like it was bridge. Like they were short of like having assigned seats. Yeah, it was like, okay, the cards are out, ladies, and then we'd all just.
Ours was like that, but it was like, this is war, bitch. Like, we made an asshole hat. I will find a picture of it because I have a picture of us after we've played asshole where someone is wearing the asshole hat. So whoever was the asshole had to wear this. I think it was one of my friend's dad's like military helmet. So they had to wear that a helmet that they decorated. And if you were the asshole, you had to wear it like all night. And then whoever was the president and vice president of asshole, it was like very serious. We took it so seriously, and the rules that we made would go all night. Like you just that was like a big thing to us, and I'm proud to say I was very good at it. I don't even remember the rules of the game anymore.
I don't think you know that game.
You don't know it? So,
I don't think so.
Do you know the rules, Laura? Because I can't remember. It's like
all I can think of is 2s and red 3s clear.
Yeah,
that's
so
like the only thing. It's a card game. I think you're just trying to like match suits and numbers.
Yeah, you're trying to get rid of your cards, and whoever goes out first, it's like that person's the president, and then whoever goes out second,
right? And they can make rules.
Yeah,
okay.
And anyone at any time, the way we used to play, could call for what's known as a waterfall. So everyone to them and under had to stand up and drink, and you had to keep drinking until the person who was higher than you finished. So if the president started it, they would drink, and then they'd sit, and then the vice president could sit, and the last person to drink who could stop drinking was the asshole.
Oh, okay. Because I remember the waterfall thing as being a part of a drinking game we played with cards.
It's probably that game. Maybe you guys called it something else too.
We called it like Rat or something.
That could be it.
And also, I feel like it was a popular feature in young adult binge drinking. So it probably got thrown into a number of. People figured out it worked and no one liked it. So they were like, let's put it in every game.
Right. That's hilarious.
Pamela, do you remember any like good house party drama or like gossip or anything like that?
We had sorry, that's my cat. She does, she remembers. She wants to spill the tea.
She's like, tell them this.
Yeah, she's like, I've been quiet this whole time, but I can't listen to you not tell this story, so.
Right. I remember it was my best friend had a house party on the street at her mom's place. And we got so wasted, and she had friends like from home like me, and then she had friends from Tufts because that's where she went to school, and we were all combining, and I was meeting her Tufts friends for the first time, and her friend Danny and I, who I knew that she'd like previously hooked up with, we both had the genius idea to make her a mix CD. Remember when you would burn a CD?
Yes. We
both made her a mix CD, and we put one of the same. This is like this tells you like the time period in which it happened. And we both put the same Arcade Fire song on it. No, I think it was the same Fantagram song.
Oh.
So I was like, oh my God, we're soulmates. Like, like all it took at the time.
Oh yeah, definitely. You'd be like, wow, we feel all the same feelings. Like this is meant to be.
Yeah, I was like, wait, we like the same band. And So we're getting drunk, and then at one point I see Clarissa in her room just in a thong with and she looked great, by the way, just in a thong with our friend Ben, who we went to high school with, and then she went to Tufts with, because they had also been hooking up. So I see them hooking up. I'm like, okay, she's good. She has, you know, a dick to suck for tonight. And so I went ahead and hooked up with Danny. And of course, it's like, I didn't have good sex until I was like 25. So just bad, you know, whatever, bad.
I think that's a norm for women. It's just like it doesn't start getting good until you either, if you end up with like a serious relationship for a long time, you might get spoiled and have good sex earlier. But if not, it's usually like mid-20s.
And certainly probably not great first time house party sex.
No, absolutely not. So I hooked up with him, and then when we woke up in the morning, we all like went to a very suburban thing. We all went to a diner, and she was pissed because I had hooked up with this guy that she had previously hooked up with. And I was like, you can't own all the men
at this party. Yeah.
Also, why are we fighting over an engineering major named Danny? Like, that's so dumb. But, you know, when you're a college, like that's what you do.
Yeah.
Pretty typical. And I bet at this point she would not even remember that story, because that is how completely irrelevant it is now. You know?
Right. But at that diner that morning,
it was the only thing that mattered.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm sure it was like for us, that kind of stuff would go on it would be like a big deal for a while. Like you'd be like, well, remember that other party.
Long enough for all your other friends to choose sides, certainly.
Yeah.
Great.
Are you and she still friends today?
Literally still best friends.
Perfect.
Oh, that's awesome.
Since we were 4. And she's in Brooklyn. She came to see my show in Brooklyn for her birthday, and brought a ton of people. Which
she brought Danny.
Yeah, she brought Danny. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I remember that, and I didn't get involved in a lot of the drama, because when I get drunk, I just want to have fun. Like I just get very dancey.
Hyping people up in the ladies' room lines, is that you?
Yeah, just very friendly. Like I wasn't. There's this girl from Bad Girls Club who looks and sounds a lot like me. Her name is Julie from Boston, and it's really eerie how similar we are. And there's an audition video where she's like, "I'm just a good time. I don't do drama. But if you come for me, like the claws will come out."
Yeah,
and that's how I feel. That's how I feel about that was my partying philosophy.
Yeah. I think I was simultaneously the most fucked up one and the most put together one. So like my friends that had less to drink would be like barfing, and I'd be like, I'll hold your hair back. This is what I do. Here, drink this, have this aspirin. Like I'd be like, whatever. I take ibuprofen and some water, and like this food will fix you. But I would be like, like later we'd all be like recounting how many drinks we had, and I'm like, oh, I had that plus 27 more.
I wanted to dance hard, probably on a piece of furniture, and then go secretly make out with someone, and then come back and tell everybody about it.
Solid party time.
Yeah.
So Pam, where can people find you?
People can find me on the internet, just at Pam Not Anderson on Twitter.
Get it right.
And that's me.
And we'll put those
Pam
links.
Not Anderson.
Yeah, at Pam Not Anderson, and we'll put the links for that in the show notes. You guys can click it and follow her. She's really funny, and I subscribe to our stuff. We're on YouTube now. So make sure you check that out and give us nice reviews, and don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen. We're on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, other things that I don't even know.
If you find somewhere that we don't know where we're at, let us know.
Yeah. And that's it. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.